Here, I'll show you something in this week's parsha. This is Middle Eastern negotiations. I'll start at the beginning of the chapter, but I'm really interested in verse 4 and on. Sarah's lifetime was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. These are Sarah's life. She died in Kiryat Arba, which is Hebron, land of Canaan. Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and bewail her. Abraham rose up in the presence of his dead and spoke to the children of Chayei, saying, I am an alien and a resident among you. It means I come from a different land, I come from a different people, but I have taken up residence here. Grant me an estate for a burial site with you, that I may bury my dead from before me. Children of Chayei answered Abraham, saying to him, Hear us, my Lord. You are a prince of God in our midst. In the choicest of our burial places, bury your dead. Any of us will not withhold this burial place from you from burying your dead. Beautiful, no? I want to ask you, look carefully, read like a lawyer. Abraham made a request. Is their answer to him yes or no?
No, it's yes. I mean, it seems like, I guess maybe unless you're seeing it that he's stating that you're a prince of God. I mean, why would you say no?
Explain why he's saying no.
He said no because he asked for two things in his question.
What did he ask for?
He asked, number one, that they grant him a land, and that in that land he may bury his dead.
Listen to what he's saying. He asked for two things. Grant me an estate. Grant me an estate for a burial site. Give me a piece of land, and I'll bury my dead there.
Right.
What do they say to his request for a piece of land?
For him, it's okay.
Read what they say.
They say, you are a prince of God in our midst, in the choice of our burial places, bury your dead.
Stop. In the choicest of our burial places, bury your dead. You can bury your dead in our cemetery. Does that mean him giving him a piece of land? No, they're keeping the land. They're keeping the land. Sure, you want to bury your dead? Fine, in our land. You're not getting any land. The answer to his request is no. He says, give me a piece of land, and they say no. With flowers, they say no. With honey, they say no. With all the sugary words, Prince of God in our midst, N-O spells no. You're not getting land. That's round one. Don't be taken in by the compliments and the flattery and all the rest. He wants land, and they don't want to give him land. That's round one.
What can they use that land for?
Okay, but I'm just looking at the words. Before you psychoanalyze and all the rest, let's lead with the text is telling us. The text is telling us in round one, he wants something and they say no. Let's go to round two. Abraham rose up, bowed down to the members of the council, children of Chayei. He spoke to them saying, if it is truly your will to bury my dead from before me, heed me and intercede for me with Ephron ben Sochar. Let him grant me. Abraham still wants land. Let him grant me the cave of Machpelah, which is his, on the edge of his field. Let him grant it to me for its full price in your midst as an estate for a burial site. So you see, he's insisting he wants the land. Now, before I go to the answer, let's just pay attention here. What exactly does Abraham want here? Read 9 carefully and tell me exactly what he wants.
Marsa Machpelah.
Right. He wants Marsa Machpelah. How does he want to acquire it? How does he want to acquire it? By what transaction?
With, I'm assuming monetary, like let him grant me for its full price.
Oh, he says for its full price, right? But twice he says, let him grant it to me. In the Hebrew, it's give. The English is into flowery language. Twice he says give, and once he says for its full price.
So he's trying to get it for free?
Well, if he's trying to get it free, why does he mention full price? That's not going to help you get it for free. Why would he say give, right? Good, so that's a question. That's a good question. How come he says give twice and he says for a full price? I'll tell you why.
Because we see that they said before that they don't want to give it. I mean, they said it's our land still. So now I'm asking you even nicer. I'm saying, can you grant it to me? It's just different languages, different.
But it's not different language. That's the same exactly as it was before. It's translated grant above and grant here. But here he adds for his full price. Right. Now I'll explain to you what's going on here. Let's suppose that somebody owns a Picasso. Right? He loves Picasso. He's got this thing. It's worth $123 million. It's over his fireplace. I say to him, you know, I really want that picture. Now it's worth $123 million. Here's $150. You'll make a real good profit. And he says to me, you're right, 150 would be a real good profit, but I don't want to sell it. I want the picture. I don't want the money, I want the picture. I enjoy the picture, I'm proud of owning a Picasso. I don't want to sell. Abraham is saying, I want to pay full price. But if he agrees to sell it to me, I will regard it as a gift. I'll regard it as a tremendous favor that I'll be willing to sell it to me. This is Abraham's bargaining position, so to speak. He says twice, give it to me, but don't think I'm looking for a free gift. No, I'm going to pay full price. I just want you to know, if there's any reluctance to selling, if he has any reason to want to hold on to it, I want you to know that if he'll agree to sell it to me for its full price, I will regard that as a gift. Okay? Now watch what Ephron answers.
So
Why does he feel he's owed a gift?
Why does he not want a gift? You'll see. Look at the answer on the next page. Right? Verse 11.
Right.
So this is Ephron answering back. No, my Lord, heed me. I have given you the field, and as for the cave that is in it, I have given it to you. In the view of the children of my people, I have given it to you. Bury your dead. God, is this guy generous? Look at that. You know? Now, Abraham said, twice give and once full price. What does Ephron answer back?
No. Meaning, I'm assuming he's saying no as in don't pay the
Correct.
full price.
Don't skip over the no. The no is serious. No means no. I'm saying, you said something, I'm saying no.
Right.
Now, how many times does he say give?
I have given you the fields for the cave. I have given it to you. So twice, yeah, 3 times.
3 times. He imitates Abraham. Abraham has give twice plus once pay. He has give 3 times. He's answering every one. But he's changing the price into give. It's very, very carefully calculated. Right? His answer is no, and I'm saying no to the price. You said twice give and once price. I'm saying 3 times give. I'm canceling out the price.
Right.
Okay? Now, why is he doing that? Because it makes a gigantic difference whether you pay or you don't pay. If Ephron gives Abraham land, 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, Abraham does something that Ephron doesn't like, he can say, I gave you that land, and this is the way you repay me? This is the way you treat me? Get off. A land isn't a piece of cake. You give the piece of cake, it's eaten up, it's gone. No, the land stays there forever. So if he gives it to him without taking any money, then there's always a connection that he has to that land. You could take it back later on the grounds that you don't deserve to have it. Not if you take money. If you take money, it's over. A sale is a sale, and it's cut. Abraham wants absolute ownership. That's why he doesn't want any strings attached. He wants to be absolute ownership, and therefore he wants to have so that's why Ephron says, no, I don't want your money, because I don't want you to have full, complete, independent ownership of it. And Abraham is still not satisfied. 13. He spoke again, Abraham speaks again. Rather, and like you did before, rather is serious. Rather means, no, I'm not agreeing. Rather something else. If only you would heed me, I give the price of the field. I'm insisting on paying. Accept it from me that I may bury my dead there. And now Ephron gives in. Now Ephron finally gives in. The Lord, heed me, land worth 400 shekels, silver shekels between you and you. What is it? Bury your dead. And now Abraham gets what he wants. And not only does he pay for it, but watch. I mean, the text is so careful and so precise. Abraham heeded Ephron, weighed out to Ephron the price which he had mentioned in the hearing of the children. 400 silver shekels in negotiable currency. Now, in English, that makes no sense whatsoever. Currency is stuff that you use to pay debts by law. Negotiable means that it's something that you can use to pay debt. So negotiable currency is just redundant. In Hebrew, it has an extra punch. Over l'socher means like this. In those days, coins were worth the value of the precious metal out of which they were minted. Silver coins were worth the amount of silver that was in them, and gold coins were worth the amount of gold that was in them. The gold and the silver and the coins was not hard. They weren't good alloys. So they rubbed off. There would be gold dust and silver dust rubbed off the coins. And as they were used more and more, they weighed less and less. And then it became a question, how much did they really weigh? You have to weigh them up to check. Abraham used brand new coins. Coins that had never been used, never been handed from hand to hand. So they were in perfect condition. Abraham didn't want the possibility of any complaint. No complaint whatsoever. It's exactly what you asked for. Perfectly good coins, so that later it's his for sure, without any possibility of complaint. That's what Abraham wanted. He wanted that site. Okay, one little detail that I skipped. Abraham says in 9, let him grant me the cave of Machpelah, the cave. And in 11, Ephron says, "O Lord, hear me, I've given you the field. And as for the cave that is in it, I've given it to you." Ephron adds the field. Abraham didn't ask for the field. And Ephron adds the field. So the question is why? I saw in a book of archaeology, history, they're not always trustworthy, and they change their minds every 10 or 20 years, but what I saw was very interesting, that in those days, you didn't pay real estate on underground real estate holdings, only on above ground. I guess because of agriculture or whatever. Abraham asked for a cave. Everyone says, if you're getting only the cave, you're not going to pay any real estate. We don't want that. You're going to be a landholder, pay taxes. You have to take the field as well. That's one possibility. The other possibility is this. Where is the field? Where is the cave in the field? If you have a situation where you have a road, you have a field bordering on the road, and the cave is over here, the question then becomes, how will you get access to the cave? You're burying your wife there. Are you going to want to be buried there later? Will your children want to visit the burial site and so forth and so on? You're going to walk through my field to get to your cave? No, I don't want that. You want the cave? Buy the access to the cave as well. This is a Gemara Bava Basra. The Talmud talks about these things, whether they're included or isn't included, and so forth and so on. Both ways is possible, but it is important to notice that he adds in the field, which Abraham didn't ask for. And Abraham says, fine, you want it with the field also? I'll buy the field also, whatever you say. Abraham doesn't want to bargain. He doesn't want to bargain him down because he wants there to be no possible complaint. It's one of the reasons that we could say, we know whatever anybody else says, that belongs to us.
What would you tell a person that wants to get closer to God, or wants to feel that connection that it seems like other people have it so easily?
Let me tell you something. You are now quoting a statement from the Arizal, from the great mystic the Arizal. This is what you're saying now is gold. I used to say this very often in my shiurim, but I haven't said it recently. I had a student here once, 30 years ago. He finished his college degree, wasted time in college. This is common. Drinking and parties and, studying at the last minute. I taught university for 10 years, so I know it from both sides. And he came here and he saw the guys learning. And he says, these guys are learning 10, 12 hours a day. I don't want to do that. But I wish I did want to do that. I want to want. The third meal on Shabbos is called Shal Shudas, and in the Ari wrote Kabbalistic poetry for each of the meals. And the third meal he defines as Rava de Rava, which means will of will. And one explanation is exactly what you said. The desire to have a desire. And that means the person says, I'm not motivated to do it, but I look at people who are, and I see what it gives them. The fact that they have the desire leads them to a much higher level of development than I, and I wish that I had that desire. The Arizal was quoted as saying that if you go down 13 levels, I have a desire to have a desire to have a desire to have a desire to have a desire 13 times, you're still connected. That's what he said. You're still connected because you're not indifferent. It may be buried that deeply, but you're not indifferent. It still matters. That's enough to be connected, and then you can climb back up. You can always climb back up.
Right, I just have a lot of theories in my head that I believe. I mean, it's possible. It just matters on probability, really. So it's just many things within religions. I see most people live a robotic lifestyle. They're taught something. They're brought up a certain way. They're brought up in a family that they do certain things. So this is why they do it, not because they're building this closeness with God. That's at least what I see, right?
Have you talked to them?
So
you asked them about it?
I just spoke to someone that he was like we're like reverse Moranos these days. There's a lot of us are. This is someone that whatever. This is something that I again, like, could it, yeah, like one theory. I don't know if you want to discuss this at all. It's just.
But I myself come from a non-religious background, and I grew into this slowly with a lot of kicking, scratching, and biting, and screaming. I've spent 45 years doing this in different places in the world and spoken all over. Of course, you find people with higher and lower consciousness everywhere in the world. I could take anybody and in 5 minutes convince him that democracy is a mistake, or he can't understand what democracy is, because people believe in democracy because everybody else believes in democracy. Nobody thinks about it. Nobody considers questions about it because it's just taken for granted. There are people like that, and there are people who are thoughtful people. There are people who are struggling, people who are working with ideas or working with themselves to improve various things in their lives. Now, the fact that a person isn't conscious of what interests you doesn't mean that he's unconscious. It depends on what he's doing. Ask him how he's different from 5 years ago. What does he hope to be 5 years from now? What is it that he admires in other people, and what is it that he finds distressing in other people? If you ask people questions like that, I think you will find a much greater degree of consciousness than ask him whether it bothers him that you daven 3 times a day, and it's hard for him to work up the appropriate consciousness and fixation that he should have during davening. Ask him if it bothers him. And if it bothers him, then he wants to want, and he's still connected. I think you'll find much more consciousness than you're giving them credit for.
Well, I just feel that when someone does something for 10 years straight, 20 or 30 years straight, right? After a certain period of time, when they start thinking, they start realizing like it's only convenient for them to stay the same and not try to get out of the box. Meaning like for them, they're just continuously doing it. At least I live in New York, right?
Yeah.
So I notice a lot of people that look. They look the part. They look very firm, but they're not really. And they have no true meaning inside at all. Right?
But look, you surely understand that that's not a necessary part of a human being, right?
I think
Isaac Stern, huh?
Yeah, I think it's sick. I think that they should try to.
But it's not necessary when you do something for 10 or 20 or 30 years to then just do it because you want to look the part. That's not necessary.
Well, it's only convenient to stay the part. Meaning, like, let's just say, if you're married already,
Yeah.
you have kids already.
Yeah.
So when you're 30 years old, your parents already spent so much money sending you to schools, doing all these things. It's only convenient for you to keep on doing what you're doing, or else you could lose your marriage.
Yeah, but that's true. But it's not a feature of human character, human nature, that when you do something for 30 years, the only reason you continue to do it is because you're stuck in it. That's not a feature of human nature to be that way. It might be so for some people, but it's not a feature. Take Isaac Stern, who practiced the violin 12 hours a day and made concerts of them. He thrilled to every concert. Toscanini, who was a conductor, who once told his second that I can't conduct the symphony tonight. Symphony had conducted 100 times. I'm not up for it tonight. Tonight I can't conduct. This is the 101st time. And the 101st time he had to be up for it, otherwise he wasn't going to do it. It's not necessary that a person who does something over and over again has a reputation and a position that he has to keep up is doing it only because of that. That's not necessary. Some people are like that and some people aren't like that. Gifted neurosurgeons are saving lives. They don't become cold about it and say, I'm just earning money and I have my reputation so I can't help. They're thrilled every time they can save a life. It's not part of human nature to lose that sensitivity. That's not a necessary part of human nature. Some people will be that way and some people will not be that way. You're making a mistake.